Hey guys, let's talk two of my favorite hobbies. Thank you to my patrons for supporting the channel and making it the best it can be. Hey fantasy fans, welcome back. It's Dan here from TreeBeard Book Reviews. And as you can see guys, we're doing a bit of a change of scene. We're now in my basement and this is right in front of my board game shelf. So today we're going to be doing a video looking at board games I have purchased that, because of books. I've read the book or a book that inspired me to purchase this kind of board game. So yeah, I do have a lot of board games. I have around, this is a big calyx. It's really tall. I'm not just super short. It's two calyxes stacked on top of each other. So there's about 200 board games on this shelf behind me, or on these shelves behind me. Yes, I have a lot of board games. I do like to have a lot of shelves in my house. I do have a lot of other hobbies. My three main big hobbies are books, board games, and barbecue. Probably in that order. So I'm just going to be going through 10 board games that I've bought because of books. So let's get into the list. All right, guys. So I've actually ranked all these games from the games I like the least to the most. I'll maybe talk a little bit about the game, just like very briefly, give you an idea if it's why I like it and why you maybe should pick it up if you like this, if you like the book series. So let's get into it. All right. So my number 10 is because of the Stormlight Archive by Brandon Sanderson. Brando Sanderson, one of my favorite authors, and I think it was Stonemaier Games, was it? Came out with a game that is the Stormlight Archive Call to Adventure. So this is a fun little game. It's where you're building a tale. You're telling a story, and you start off as like a young child, like with a destiny, and then you kind of grow and you build cars and you build this destiny. The game's okay. I think it plays better with like 3 or 4 people. I played it with 2 players and my wife. There's just not that tension there. So I think, for it to be enjoyed a little bit more, you need to just have a few more players. But it's a good game, but it is number 10. It's not my favorite. There is actually, it's funny. There's actually a Name of the Wind expansion. Not for a Name of the Wind here, I got it. There was a base game called Call to Adventure, and then they had an expansion for the Name of the Wind, the Killer Chronicle. Again, Name of the Wind was like the first Call to Adventure was okay. I backed it on Kickstarter. It was all right, and I just didn't love it, so I ended up getting rid of it, and I replaced it with the Brando Sando version. So yeah, number 10 is Call to Adventure Stormlight Archive. All right, guys. So number 9 is actually from like a book series I have not read. It's by H.P. Lovecraft. And that is like the Cthulhu. So this is Arkham Horror. It's like loosely based, or that's not loosely. It is based off Cthulhu and the works of H.P. Lovecraft. There's Cthulhu in it. There's monsters. There's mind flayers. This is a pretty fun game. It's obviously this is a card game. This is Arkham Horror, the card game. It's kind of like a deck building where you're kind of going on a mission and you're trying to stop the forces of Cthulhu breaking through. So it's actually a lot of fun. So yeah. Number 9 is Arkham Horror, the card game. Number 8 is a board game that is based off of the Forgotten Realms. This is obviously the Icewind Dale trilogy here, but it's more related to D&D, and that is Roll Player. Roll Player, it's a dice rolling game where you have a player board. So like say you're a Dragonborn, but you're a Dragonborn bard, and you roll different colored dice, and you put these dice on these boards, and essentially you create a character, and you can get armor and stuff like that. It's actually really a lot of fun. Like there's some of the boards here you can see where you're rolling the dice and you're placing them on the board, and I really like it. I really like D&D. I'm in part of a bi-weekly D&D group. I play right now. A dwarf monk, just because dwarves have beards, and I have a beard, and I just love dwarves. They're my favorite fantasy race. So yeah, it's a really fun game. You could actually, when you play the game, you could end up making like a D&D character with the board you create. It's a lot of fun. I really like it. I really recommend it. So yeah, that is number 8, Roll Player, and for the Forgotten Realms, D&D. All right, guys. So number 7. It's actually not a fantasy book, but it's a book I've read and a book I've enjoyed. This is out in several mediums: book, TV show, all and now board game, and all are extremely good. So that is The Pillars of the Earth by Ken Follett. I absolutely adore this book. I really enjoyed it. It's a big book. I read it so fast. I read it a couple years ago now. I want to say 10 years ago, maybe 9 years ago. Absolutely loved it. But they have a fantastic board game called The Pillars of the Earth, where you're building the cathedral. So it's a worker placement game. So you're placing characters on the map, getting resources, using those resources to build the cathedral. And so then you gain points along a track. It's a really fun game. So this is like a little just like show you the board here. Some of the characters in here, like Jackson here, Tom Builder. It's really good. This is another thing too, guys, is when you're buying board games, make sure they show you what you're going to be playing on the back of the box. That's always key, at least for me when I'm purchasing board games. They gotta show me what's going on. So yeah, so that is number 7, The Pillars of the Earth. Number 6, guys, one of my favorite authors, one of my favorite books of all time. It is Jurassic Park, and this is the game. It's really heavy. Is Dinosaur Island. So this is literally Jurassic Park in a box. It's so much fun. I'm gonna flip around here and show you the back. So you are building a dinosaur park. You're collecting dice to build genomes, and you're rolling the dice to to put all the DNA together to make the best dinosaurs, and then your dinosaurs break out and eat guests, and you have to do damage control. And it's such a fun game. I got this game on Kickstarter. I actually have their next game that came out was Dinosaur World, which is another more complex version of Dinosaur Island. It's Michael Crichton. I love dinosaurs. I'm just obsessed with dinosaurs. Like, I'm just a big kid when it comes to dinosaurs. I'll show you. I'll be right back. And I'm back with the power of editing. So yeah, I just love dinosaurs. I have so much dinosaur stuff. Like, I've read a lot of this book just because I love to learn about ancient history and ancient Earth. And I think it's also because, like, I'm doing my master's in sustainability and, looking at our environment and just, nothing. It's funny how some of the ancient paleo environments are, we're changing our world to look like those environments. So yeah, I love dinosaurs, and that's why number 6 is Dinosaur Island. All right, guys, so number 5, this is actually one of my wife's favorite games. It's an app-assisted game, but first I'll tell you the book is Sherlock Holmes. This is A Study in Scarlet. I love Sherlock Holmes, Arthur Conan Doyle. I've read most of the Sherlock Holmes stories, but this is Sherlock Holmes in a box. This is Chronicles of Crime. It's set in England. It's set in London, where you're a detective and you're working through how to solve these crimes that are going on in this. So this is actually an app-assisted game. You need an app. The app is free, and you use your phone and you search for clues on like a crime scene, and then you pick out, cards that correspond to that, whatever you find, and then it helps you piece together clues. You get to go to different locations to like interrogate people. It's absolutely a fantastic, fun game. It's really cheap. Highly recommend it. It's a great family game. Maybe not for kids because there can be some gory stuff in there. It's like very light gore, but it can be bloody, but it's great for like adults. If you like the mystery, like the murder mystery, there's so many versions of this game out. I think I own 5 different like versions of it, because there's like noir, where it's like, the old like Dick Tracy kind of detective work, like noir detective, and then there's ones where it's like set in like the 1800s and then the future. So there's a lot going on here. Top 5. My 5th favorite game on this list is Terraforming Mars, and obviously the corresponding book is The Martian by Andy Weir. Holy cow, this game is one of the best games I've ever played. So essentially, as the book says, or the box says, you are terraforming Mars. Usually you're trying to raise the temperature, build oceans, build green spaces on Mars, build technology. It's a very logical game. So like, you're using the resources you gather, like titanium and copper, and you're transferring it with heat, and it's very logical. So as the temperature rises, you can obviously like build more plants and like animals. It's just this is a fantastic game. I actually have I think it's like, you see it up here, another copy. It's like a dice version. It's still in the shrink wrap. I know it's just when it's harder to get to games when you have kids and you want to read books too. So yeah, so that is number 5, Terraforming Mars, and from Andy Weir, The Martian. All right, guys, so I know I said that Terraforming Mars is number 5. It's number 4. So top 4 is, Terraforming Mars. So number 3 is Battle, Hogwarts, and obviously that corresponds with the Harry Potter series. I love Harry Potter, but this is a fantastic game. So there's actually been 2 expansions that have come out for this game. There is I think I got them here. Yeah, I have them here. So there is Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. And then there's also, I think it's like potions and stuff like that. So it's really cool. So it's a deck building game. So if any of you guys are familiar with games like Dominion or Thunderstone, so what you're doing is you have a set of cards. You draw a hand, and then you use that hand to either purchase or fight. And so there's going to be stuff that's coming up in the shop, and it's all stuff you've seen in the Harry Potter universe. It's fantastic. So it's Dumbledore's wand, or Gillyweed, or Felix Felicis. So it's just cool stuff like that. And you can also buy characters, so Remus Lupin, Sirius Black, and then you're fighting bad guys like Voldemort, and what's her name? Oh, I can't believe I'm drawing a blank. But anyways, you're fighting all these bad guys that you see in the Harry Potter universe, and it's absolutely fantastic. It's one of my favorite. It's actually a legacy game too, not traditional legacy, but you open chapters and you move through the years of Harry Potter, and so it's really good. So obviously you don't just get everything all at once, and you start with the characters you meet in year 1, and so your enemies in year 1 are Professor Quirrell, Mr. Filch, but by the end you're fighting Voldemort full on. So it's really good game. It's one of my favorite games, one of my wife's favorite games, one of our favorite mechanisms for gaming is deck building. So I'm just glad that they came up with a half decent Harry Potter game, and it's really good. All right, guys, so number 2, one of my favorite series of all time, one of my favorite games of all time, and that is Lord of the Rings, The Journeys in Middle-earth. So this is another app-assisted game. This is made by Fantasy Flight Games. It's a big dungeon crawler. So, you have to use the app. I use it on an iPad, and it generates a map, and you have to pick your heroes, so either Frodo, Aragorn, Legolas, Gimli, and you take them on missions to, in Middle-earth, and whether you're hunting the ring or you're just on missions in Middle-earth, it's absolutely fantastic. I really love dungeon crawlers. Some of my favorite games, my favorite game of all time, favorite board game of all time is Gloomhaven. But then my next favorite game was also Descent, Journeys in the Dark, which I have just a ton of it over here. And yeah, so it's just another, this is the same vein as Descent, is by the same company, Fantasy Flight Games. This is probably a better version of Descent. If you like the idea of controlling characters, their gear increases, they change a little bit, they get new abilities. It's also got a deck building element to it, and it's Lord of the Rings themed. Heck yeah, it's really good. So yeah, number 2, my favorite, my second favorite game, and one of my top favorite books of all time, Lord of the Rings. So let's get to number 1. So this might be no surprise. You've probably seen it behind me. And one of my favorite books that I read last year was Dune. And so I knew there was a Dune board game, a new one that came out, I think it was in 2020 or 2021. But I bought this game, played this game. I've mainly been playing it solo, and maybe that's just me being a little bit lame, but I love this game solo. But that is DUNE Imperium. Oh my goodness, it's so good. So this is, again, a kind of a worker placement game where, obviously there's spice and you're controlling areas and you're putting your characters on the board. And you're controlling a house, so House Atreides, House Harkonnen, the Emperor's house. So it's a fantastic game. I really, really love it. It's probably one of my favorite games of all time. I love the themes, how you feel it's weird to say you feel like you're on Arrakis when you're playing a board game, but it drops you right in, all the characters' abilities that you're playing with, you know, when you're playing House Atreides or House Harkonnen, like they have sensible abilities that would match up to those type of houses. It's really cool. Again, it's also deck building. Like he's just got a lot of things I like, you know, worker placement, deck building, like area control. It's kind of a Marathrash, where a Marathrash meaning there's a like light combat in there, but it's very bloody and quick. So, but there's also another Dune board game that was out there. So I bought it. I haven't played it yet. This one is a little bit more involved. I can play up to 7 players. It's probably like a 2 or 3 hour game. I really want to play it. I just haven't got to play it just because of the pandemic, and like, you know, it's just harder to get people out to play games with. So yeah, so I own 2 Dune board games, and they're absolutely great as far as I know. I know DUNE Imperium's fantastic, and I've read and watched a lot of reviews. I watch a lot of board game reviews too. So yeah, guys, this is just another one of my hobbies. I love books, I love board games, and it's very rare that some of my hobbies can coincide. And board games are just one of those things that mesh beautifully with books. So I hope you guys didn't mind this change of setting. Didn't mind this, you know, different type of book video with mixing some of my other hobbies. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys like this content, please like, comment, and subscribe. And if you'd like to see, you know, more different or beyond the book kind of content, we can do that too. So let me know what you guys think, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.